Good afternoon, everybody. As you see, we speak the same language under the leadership of President Bolsonaro. I want to thank you all, especially Miss Nancy Marcus, that gave me a wonderful book yesterday night by Kagan, and talking about the liberal order. So we are joining the Western liberal order. Markets and a very vibrant democracy. Our president was elected with less than $1 million campaign. It never happened before. It will never happen again. So it was by the force of this man that he, for the very first time, nominated a whole cabinet that speaks the same language. All of us committed to transform the country and using this window of opportunity of making Brazil great at last. So, we had for 30 years a state-centered economy. And this is usual. This corrupts democracy and stagnates the economy. So Brazil used to grow last century, 3/4 of last century. Brazil was one of the fastest growing economy in the world. It was Brazil against Japan, 7.3, 7.4 for 20, 30, 40 years. In the 70s, the GDP of China was half of ours. The per capita income was 1/10 of ours. And we have natural resources, much more than China. So what happened to us? We, as a state-centered economy, lost our way. But we'll be back now. And our program is a market-centered, to transform Brazil into a market-centered economy. We began with a social security reform. You know that the pay-as-you-go system is condemned by the demographic time bomb, besides the bad allocation of resources. So even in the US saving 3% of GDP was growing 3% because of innovation and good allocation. Because we have a statized credit system, state banks control 60% of credit in Brazil, the allocation of resources is pretty poor. So Brazil growing in the 80s, we collapsed from 7.3 in the 80s, we went to 2.5. Beginning of this century, we slowed down to 2.2, and in the last 80 years, we are growing 0.6% a year, so almost zero. Doesn't work anymore. So Brazil stagnated, and now we are approving the reforms. The very first one is the fiscal, the social security reform, that will have a double-edged effect. The first effect is to give us a 10 years, 15 years horizon of fiscal soundness. Brazil was being swallowed by the black hole of the social security pay-as-you-go finance. So we are putting some fuel in the old system. We'll be paying for a transition towards a capitalization system. So we'll grow not only because we improve the horizon of investments with fiscal soundness, but we ourselves will begin investing instead of just current consumption with social security funds. So, second reform, privatization. Brazil spends every year $100 billion just to pay interest on that. The Marshall Plan, who rebuilt Europe after the Second World War, is $106 billion over 8 years. Brazil every year rebuilds one Europe without escaping poverty. So making a perverse income transfer every year, exactly because we borrow as if there was no tomorrow. This is the way they behave with the government there. Keep borrowing, and sending the bill for the future generations. So we have to pay the bill now. And the president has courage, and the men that he nominated are ready for the sacrifice, and will do it. In the third place, so the social security reform give us 10, 15 years of fiscal horizon. We reduce this perverse public spending and just paying. Brazil became hell to entrepreneur with very high taxes, very high interest rates, and it became paradise for rentiers. We'll change that. Our friend Salim Matar is here, is a Brazilian billionaire. He'll sell everything we have there, from the president's palace to the house I was supposed to live, to everything we can sell. Of course, it will be very hard because the president already cut by 70% or 80% the costs with the palace. But we'll try to dislodge him. We'll try to get him out of the palace. At the end, we'll try to sell Petrobras. We'll try to sell Banco do Brasil, or at least merge. We'll try to merge Banco do Brasil with Bank of America. They are great in real estate. They are great in real estate. They are great in real estate and agricultural loans. So let's put them together. We already put Boeing and Embraer together. Let's begin building transnational companies. Let's go beyond frontiers in this alliance for business. As our mining and energy minister said, he was moderate. He said about the $500 billion that we'll be having as investment opportunities. He's an investment opportunity portfolio. He's just walking by the room and he has opportunities for everybody in mining, oil and gas, in electricity. So, but more than that, the estimates are of almost $1 trillion coming out of the ground in the next 35 years in oil and gas, which is the offshore frontier. So in this morning we were just talking to the CEO of ExxonMobil. All of us grown up in Brazil. We grown up in Brazil every night. There was a big sponsor. ExxonMobil was the sponsor of the news. Every night we heard Exxon reports, and then the news. I grew up listening to this. The president made the remark, same thing. The president is younger than me. So I saw it first, then the president came. And we would love to have Exxon great again in Brazil because it was big. It controlled like 30-40% of distribution, oil distribution in Brazil. Exploration, not that much because Petrobras had the monopoly since then. And that's why the oil never comes out the ground or the sea, because monopolies are not good for the economy. And we were talking about this. And the next move will make president of the chamber, the president of the House and the president of the Senate are telling us that they will approve the Social Security reform in 60 days. This will be amazing, wonderful. We will change the whole, it will change the whole perspective of the country. When this man begins making the auctions of the transfer rights at the end of the year, prices will be already 20-25% above what they are now. But there will be no corruption. They will be very cheap, very affordable, and very transparent. So we think that the second half of the year, the talk will be already growth. We'll be talking about resuming growth. There will be a shock of cheap energy, gas. We will break a double monopoly. The monopoly of refining, the oil exploitation, but also of distribution of gas and oil. So breaking this double monopoly will cut by half in 1 year and a half, will cut by half the price of gas, increasing the volume. So we'll try to reindustrialize the country on cheap energy. And also consumers' welfare will increase and the popularity of the president will go up when the gas gets to the poor people's house at half the price that it gets today. So this is it's coming next. Then we will reduce taxes, simplify, debureaucratize the business environment. It is happening already. We will be opening the economy. Our foreign affairs minister knows. As soon as we got there, he conducted conversations with Argentina, and the president is going very well with Macri in Argentina, is going very well with the president of Paraguay. So what the left tried to do, which was unify South America around an obsolete ideology, our president, we will unify Latin America around a modern market economy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So, He's thanking me. I think I should finish now.